War of the Gods, Enki, Enlil and Enoch against the Nephilim Reptilians, the lost truth of the Book of Enoch. The Anunnaki war against the Reptilians, a forbidden writing discovered in the ruins of the library of Nineveh. In the mists of time, before the flood cleansed the earth of traces of a dark past, a titanic battle took place between the Anunnaki gods and a mysterious race of beings from the depths of the underworld, the Nephilim Reptilians. A secret carefully guarded for millennia, hidden in the Book of Enoch, reveals a cosmic war, a betrayal between brothers, and a threat that could have changed the course of humanity forever. Enki, the god of wisdom and protector of mankind, and Enlil, the absolute ruler of earth, have always been in a deep rivalry. But when a greater danger began to creep into the mortal realms, the two brothers were forced to join forces against an unseen and deadly enemy. From the shadows, the Nephilim Reptilians, monstrous hybrids created from human and reptilian DNA, began to corrupt civilization, infiltrating among humans and changing their destinies forever. In this epic conflict, Enoch, the chosen prophet and the last man to know the truth, witnessed events that were erased from official history. Guided by divine visions, Enoch wrote with his own hand the Forbidden Book, a manuscript hidden for centuries, in which he described the true battle between Enki, Enlil, and the reptilians of the depths. Why was this secret hidden? Who wanted to erase the traces of this colossal struggle? And, most importantly, if the reptilians were defeated, where did they disappear to? Myth or reality? Why do the Sumerian texts and the Book of Enoch describe the same events? Is it possible that these ancient stories are more than just legends? Did Enki and Enlil really fight for the survival of humanity? What if the war never ended? The truth has been hidden, but now is the time to discover it. Watch this series and stay connected to explore together the mysteries of the Book of Enoch, the secrets of the Anunnaki, and the conspiracies about the reptilians who may still be controlling our world. Subscribe now to be the first to know the next revelations. Don't let forbidden history remain hidden. The prophet Enoch and the discovery of the forbidden text. Throughout history, there have been sacred texts that have been buried, hidden, and forbidden by those who feared the truth. One of the most enigmatic of these texts is the Book of Enoch, an ancient manuscript thought lost for millennia, containing accounts of beings from the heavens, cosmic secrets, and events erased from official history. But what few know is that fragments of this book contain forbidden testimony about an epic war between gods and shadow beings, a conflict so devastating that it took a global catastrophe to stop it. This is no ordinary story. It is a lost history, a forbidden tale of Enki, Enlil, and their battle against the Nephilim Reptilians, mysterious creatures who threatened the very existence of humanity. A hidden truth, carefully guarded by those who wanted to keep us in the dark. But recently, a shocking discovery has changed everything. Discovery of the cursed manuscript. It was 1947 when, in a remote region of Qumran, on the shores of the Dead Sea, a group of Bedouin shepherds made an astonishing discovery. While searching for a stray animal, they entered a mysterious cave and found a series of ancient scrolls, written in an ancient language unknown to most scholars. They were the Dead Sea Scrolls, extremely old biblical and historical texts, considered to be some of the most important archaeological discoveries of all time. But among them was a strange document, a text that was unlike any other, a parchment that seemed to have been intentionally hidden. It was damaged, partially burned, as if someone had tried to destroy it. The words inscribed on it spoke of a great war of the gods, of beings from heaven who rose up against other creatures from the depths of the earth. It was a forgotten fragment of the Book of Enoch, one that had never been known to modern churches. The scholars who analyzed it were shocked by what they discovered. The text mentioned names that also appeared in Sumerian mythology: Enki, Enlil, Nephilim, Anunnaki, and a race of subterranean beings described as the serpents of the netherworld. But how was this possible? How could a biblical text speak of the same beings from Mesopotamian mythology? Soon, the manuscript was confiscated by the authorities and classified as dangerous to the faith of humanity. It was hidden in the Vatican archives, and no one had access to it anymore. However, a few independent researchers managed to translate fragments and revealed what official history did not want us to admit: a secret war, a cosmic genocide, and the truth about those who still control us from the shadows. Enoch, prophet of humanity and witness of the cosmic war. The Book of Enoch tells us that this was no ordinary man. He was a chosen one, the only mortal who was allowed to see the truth about the beginnings of humanity and about those who lead it from behind the curtain. In his visions, he was lifted to the heavens and taken before those who rule the worlds. There, a forbidden story was revealed to him. Before humans dominated the earth, the planet was controlled by two great powers, the Anunnaki and the Reptilians Nephilim. The Anunnaki came from the sky, but the Reptilians were already here, living in the tunnels and kingdoms hidden beneath the earth's surface. Enki and Enlil were rival brothers, but when the Nephilim Reptilians tried to destroy humanity, the two were forced to fight together. In the Book of Enoch, it is said that he witnessed those times and that the gods commanded him to leave behind a warning for future generations. But what was this warning? Enoch described a cosmic flood, a catastrophe that would cleanse the earth of the evil influence of the Reptilians. But what was never said is that not all the Reptilians were destroyed. Some retreated into the depths, waiting for the right time to return. What does forbidden history tell us? If it was all just a myth, why were these texts hidden? If Enoch was just a biblical prophet, why do his writings connect so closely with Sumerian mythology and theories about the Anunnaki? If the War of the Gods really happened, what other events have been erased from history? This lost story is not just a legend, but a crucial piece of a puzzle that has been intentionally hidden. But the truth cannot be kept in the dark forever. What happened to the surviving Reptilians? Are they still among us, hiding in the shadows? Was Noah's flood simply divine punishment or an attempt to eliminate a cosmic threat? Who really controls the world behind the scenes? The truth is about to come out. Don't miss the next chapter, where we will explore how the Reptilians Nephilim corrupted humanity and how Enki and Enlil were forced to act before it was too late. Subscribe and stay connected to discover the greatest conspiracy in history. The Reptilian invasion and the corruption of humanity. They came from the depths, wearing scales of darkness. They whispered in the ears of kings, promising unlimited power. And so, people accepted them as gods. Lost fragment of the Book of Enoch, discovered in the Qumran caves. Long before the first cities were built, before people wrote the first letters on clay tablets, another civilization ruled the earth. It was not a human civilization, and not even an Anunnaki one. It was an ancient, alien race, hidden in the darkness of the depths of the earth, the Reptilians Nephilim. Ancient chronicles, whether from Sumer, Egypt, or South America, speak of reptilian beings from the underworld, with scaly skin and glowing eyes, who ruled over mortals like gods. But what modern historians refuse to acknowledge is that these reptilians were not mere mythical creatures, but real, dangerous, and highly advanced beings. When the Anunnaki descended from the heavens and began creating the human hybrid, they were not the sole masters of the planet. The reptilians already existed. They lived in underground cities, deep in caves and secret tunnels, from where they watched over humanity like invisible shepherds of their flock. But once Enki and the Anunnaki began genetically engineering the first humans, giving them knowledge, language, and autonomy, the reptilians saw this as a direct threat to their dominance. Humans were not supposed to have free will. They were supposed to remain slaves. And so their plan of corruption began. The beginning of corruption, whispers of darkness. Modern historians say that the first human civilizations blossomed suddenly, all of a sudden, without any logical explanation. How was it possible for primitive people to create empires, temples, and advanced systems of government overnight? What invisible force gave them this knowledge? The Book of Enoch and Sumerian texts provide a shocking answer. The Nephilim Reptilians infiltrated humans, offering their rulers power and knowledge in exchange for total obedience. They began with the kings, whom they transformed into demigods, beings of corrupted blood, possessing intelligence and power beyond the ordinary. They created dynasties that were loyal to them, thus controlling the kingdoms of the mortals from the shadows. They offered them forbidden knowledge, advanced technologies, and mysteries of the universe, but in return, they demanded sacrifices and absolute control. In the temples erected by the ancient civilizations, the reptilians were worshipped as gods. The Egyptians called them serpents of the Duat, the Aztecs considered them descendants of Quetzalcoatl, and the Sumerians spoke of Usumbul, the great serpent, hidden underground. But not all the Anunnaki accepted this infiltration. Enki, the creator of humanity, watched with concern as the kingdoms of the mortals fell under reptilian control. He had given humans the gift of knowledge, but they had begun to use it to build temples of blood, to worship beings who promised them eternal life, but demanded terrible sacrifices. Enki's revolt and Enlil's wrath. Enki tried to intervene. He went to the great kings and told them the truth: these are not your gods. They are parasites, come to enslave your souls. But it was too late. The human kings had already sold themselves to the darkness. When Enlil, his brother, learned of this corruption, he was furious. He, who considered humans to be too noisy and rebellious already, saw this act as confirmation that humanity did not deserve to live. He decided that he had to put an end to the entire experiment. If the reptilians already controlled the great empires, then the only solution was total destruction. In those days, Enlil began to discuss with the other Anunnaki a global flood. A catastrophe that would cleanse the earth and erase all that had been corrupted by the reptilians. But Enki could not accept this. Not all people were lost. So he decided to do something forbidden. Preparing for the apocalypse, Enoch's warning. In those days, Enki chose Enoch, the man who saw beyond illusion, the only mortal who could understand the games of the gods. He called him one night to a sacred mountain and told him the truth. A flood will come. Enlil wants to destroy all that you have known. But you must witness this event and leave behind a warning for the future. Enoch listened and wrote down what the gods revealed to him. He wrote about the beginnings of humanity, the secret war between the Anunnaki and the reptilians, the shadowy alliances, and the plan for total destruction. These writings would become what we now call the Book of Enoch. But Enoch understood something even more terrible. Even if the flood were to cleanse the world, the reptilians would not be completely destroyed. The strongest would survive. They would hide, wait, and one day return. What comes next? Was the flood truly divine punishment, or was it a covert war between the gods and the reptilians? What happened to the Nephilim who survived? Where are they now? Enki and Enlil will be forced to confront their rivals again, but this time, the stakes will be higher than ever. The truth is near, where the two brothers will decide the fate of humanity. The secret meeting of Enki and Enlil, the decision that changed the world. The heavens thundered and the earth shook as the two brothers looked into each other's eyes. Before them lay an impossible choice: destroy all of humanity or risk another betrayal. Those who had once been gods now had to decide the fate of an entire realm. Lost fragment from the Book of Enoch. Times were dark. The reptilian Nephilim had taken over the kingdoms of men, infiltrating temples, palaces, and cities. Humanity, the creation of the gods, was on the brink of destruction. Enki and his followers watched helplessly as the emperors fell prey to the reptilian influence, adopting bloody rituals and worshipping creatures that had no good for them but used them as pawns. In those days, Enki received a message from the heavens, a signal that only he and his brother, Enlil, could understand. It was an ancient code, a sacred call, to be used only in moments of absolute crisis. Mount Eer was the appointed place for the meeting, the sacred sanctuary of the Anunnaki, hidden from mortal eyes. Located in an inaccessible region, in the middle of the Sumerian deserts, this was the place where the supreme decisions of the gods were made. Where only the chosen were allowed to tread. With a heavy heart and troubled thoughts, Enki headed for the mountain, knowing that the discussion with his brother would decide not only the fate of men, but also the future of the Anunnaki on Earth. Mount Eer, the place where the gods decided their fate. The nights in the desert were cold, and the sky was full of bright stars. As Enki climbed the slopes of the sacred mountain, he felt the energy of the place increase. It is said that Eer was no ordinary mountain, but an energetic sanctuary, a place where the heavens met the earth. When he reached its summit, he found an ancient structure there, a gigantic gate carved in black stone, covered with inscriptions that only the gods could understand. The doors opened of their own accord, and Enki stepped inside. In the center of the sanctuary, at a sacred stone table, Enlil awaited him. Enlil's eyes were cold as ice. He was tall, imposing, his white cloak fluttering gently in the cosmic wind. His face was emotionless, but his gaze said it all. He was angry, disappointed, and determined. "You have returned, brother. At last, you too have realized that humanity must be cleansed." His words rang like thunder in the sanctuary. But Enki was not intimidated. He advanced, leaving only a few steps between them, and replied, "That is not why I have come, Enlil. We have come to find a solution. Humanity must not be destroyed. We can still save what is left." An ancient conflict, brotherhood broken by betrayal. The two brothers had not seen each other in centuries. Since the dawn of human civilization, Enki and Enlil had had different visions of the role of humans. Enki believed in evolution. He saw humans as a valuable creation, capable of developing and learning. He taught them to write, to build cities, to think for themselves. Enlil, on the other hand, saw humanity as a mistake, an experiment that had gotten out of control. To him, humans were noisy, rebellious, and capable of obedience. He saw in them only chaos. But now, the threat of the reptilian Nephilim was greater than any dispute between the brothers. Enlil struck the table with his fist, and the stone cracked under the force of the impact. "Look what happened. The people have been contaminated. The reptilians have infiltrated their kingdoms, altered their blood, turned them into their slaves. What do you intend to do, brother? Save those who have sold their souls?" Enki remained calm. "Not all have been corrupted, Enlil. There are still pure people, people who deserve a chance." Enlil laughed bitterly. "A chance? Our Anunnaki brothers are divided. Some have been drawn by the promises of the reptilians. Others are waiting to see who wins this war. And you speak to me of hope?" But Enki did not give in. He had a plan. A fatal decision, the flood plan. Enlil was firm. "We must destroy everything. The flood is the only solution. Humanity must be cleansed of this infestation. We must start from scratch." Enki felt a cold shiver. The flood, a global cataclysm designed to wipe out all life from the face of the earth. He knew Enlil could do it. He knew that their older brothers, the Anunnaki Council, would support him. But Enki had a secret plan. "Then so be it, but I will save a few. A few pure men. I will protect them, and they will repopulate the world after the storm has subsided." Enlil stood, studying him carefully. There was no anger in his eyes. There was something more dangerous, a cold acceptance. "Do as you will, Enki. But remember, if the reptilians survive, it will be your fault." What next? How was the flood triggered, and what happened to the reptilians' Nephilim? What secrets did Enki entrust to Enoch? What role did the Anunnaki ships play in this global catastrophe? Subscribe now and discover the hidden secrets of the gods. The mystery of the Nephilim and the forbidden genetic experiment. The gods watched from above, watching their sons fall into sin. The earth was full of giants, and those in the shadows whispered dark secrets to the kings. A new race had risen, and with it, corruption itself. Lost fragment of the Book of Enoch. Humanity in chaos, the curse of the gods. When Enki and Enlil left Mount Eer, the decision had been made. The flood would come, and everything that had been built by men and gods would be wiped off the face of the earth. But what none of them knew then was that not only humans would be destroyed, but also a race hidden in the shadows, the Nephilim, the cursed hybrids of the old world. Enki hurried to his secret temple, hidden in the heart of Mesopotamia. There, in the sacred tablets of knowledge, he kept a forbidden secret, the original genetic code of man, pure and unadulterated, as he had created it in the beginning. But was there anyone else worthy to carry it? Meanwhile, the outside world was in chaos. The temples of the great kingdoms resounded with ancient incantations, and the priests, under the influence of the reptilians, had called upon the help of the dark gods. The Nephilim, those hybrids between humans and beings of the deep, now ruled as puppet kings. They were not just giants, but beings of incomprehensible power, endowed with ancient knowledge and forbidden magic. How was this possible? The answer lay in a secret genetic experiment carried out under the eyes of the gods. The forbidden genetic experiment, the creation of the Nephilim. And it was so. The Watchers descended upon the daughters of men, and took them as wives, and from them were born their sons, giants of the ancient days. Fragment from the Book of Enoch. In the beginning, the Anunnaki were not to interact with humans. They came to Earth only to supervise and extract precious resources. But some of them, called the Watchers, descended from the sky and mingled with humans. But the real problem was not these rebellious gods. The reptilians, hidden underground, saw in this mix an opportunity. They took the Anunnaki DNA and combined it with human DNA, but with one crucial modification: they added their own genetic code, transforming these hybrids into beings of unimaginable strength. Thus were born the Nephilim, a new race of warrior gods, giants in stature, with skin as hard as stone and with supernatural abilities. Some of them had the gift of telepathy. Others were taller than any man, dominating the battlefields. Some of them possessed incredible longevity, living for hundreds of years. These hybrids became the hidden masters of the world. Kings worshipped them, and temples were dedicated to them. The common people considered them gods, but the true gods, the Anunnaki, regarded them with disgust and fear. To Enlil, their existence was an unforgivable sin. The people were to be destroyed, along with their new monstrous rulers. But to Enki, things were not so simple. Enki in the battle for the soul of mankind. When Enki studied the Nephilim, he discovered a disturbing truth: not all of them were evil. Some of them, though born of the forbidden mixture, had pure souls. These giants had not been corrupted by the reptilians, and were even trying to stop the dark rituals in the temples of mortals. If all humans were doomed, then these Nephilim must die too. Enki knew that Enlil would not accept compromise. Once the flood came, no one would be spared. So he decided to save a few of them. He sought out humans and Nephilim who had not been corrupted by the reptilians and took them to the hidden city, a sanctuary built specifically to survive the coming disaster. The fall of the Nephilim, the last war before the flood. Enlil set his plan in motion. The sky darkened. The earth shook. The stars began to fall, and thunder shook the world. Enlil did not wait for the water to come. First, he ordered the destruction of the Nephilim cities. Thus began the last great war. While humans and reptilians prepared for the coming flood, the Nephilim and the rebel gods of the sky rose up against Enlil and his divine army. The battle was so devastating that mountains collapsed and rivers were dried up by the fire of heaven. A large part of the rebellious Nephilim were killed and their temples were destroyed. But some survived. In the last moments before the waters covered the earth, a few Nephilim and reptilians retreated into the depths of the earth, vowing that one day they would return. What next? How did Enoch survive the flood, and what messages did Enki leave him? Where did the reptilians and Nephilim who escaped hide? Was the flood a simple natural catastrophe or a cosmic attack by the Anunnaki against a dangerous race? The celestial war, the army of the gods, and the first great battle. The heavens opened, and lightning struck the earth. Above the great cities, giant ships floated silently, pouring fire over the high towers. In the depths, reptilian beings rose, ready to defend their hidden kingdoms. It was a war that shook the very fabric of the world, and its echoes still haunt the dreams of those who dare to seek the truth. Lost fragment of the Book of Enoch, discovered in the secret archives of the Vatican. Mankind between two powers, the decisive moment. Mount Eer was now only a memory. The meeting between Enki and Enlil had not brought peace, but only confirmed the inevitable: all-out war was imminent. Enlil had decided that humanity must be wiped off the face of the earth. The reptilian Nephilim had corrupted the kingdoms of men, infiltrating the temples and influencing the ancient dynasties. Their creation had been compromised. Enki, however, refused to accept a total genocide. Even though some of humanity had sold out to the darkness, there were still the pure ones, those who deserved a chance. But the reptilians would not give up so easily. They were not just simple creatures hidden in the depths. They were an ancient, powerful race, capable of controlling the minds of people and shaping their appearance. They would not lose control of the earth without a fight. And so, the celestial war would begin. The reptilians revealed their true power. In the great cities, signs of conflict quickly began to appear. In the temples erected in honor of the gods, priests and kings murmured prayers not to the Anunnaki, but to unknown beings, deities with cold eyes and golden scales. It is said that in those days, some human leaders transformed. They were no longer human, but reptilian hybrids, capable of changing their shape and hiding their true appearance. They hid among mortals, dictating laws and leading the peoples into a cult of sacrifice and fear. The Book of Enoch describes this moment with horror. And I saw how kings rose from their temples, but their faces were no longer human. Their bones grew long, their skin became covered with scales, and their tongues became forked like a serpent's. And they ruled with terror, taking children and virgins for their feasts. This was the real danger. The Nephilim Reptilians were not just external invaders. They had become part of humanity. The first strike, Enlil attacks from the heavens. Enlil, furious that his planet had been taken from him, decided to strike first. The Anunnaki fleets, gigantic ships, descended from the heavens. From them rose luminous spheres, carrying the energy of those who came to cleanse the world of corruption. That night, the sky was filled with lightning, and thousands of bolts of lightning fell on the great cities. The walls of the temples collapsed, and the huge ziggurats of Mesopotamia shook under the wrath of the gods. The cities controlled by the reptilians were the first to be attacked. Babylon, Ur, Eridu, all were struck by heavenly fire. The temple of Marduk, one of the most influential reptilian leaders, was completely destroyed. But the reptilians were ready. The Nephilim counterattacked the rise of the great underground army. Underground, in caverns hidden for millennia, the reptilians had prepared their own army. When the fire came down from heaven, they did not flee. They fought back. From the depths, giant beings emerged, their skin covered in scales and their eyes shining like torches of fire. They were the Nephilim, the perfect hybrids of the reptilians, who now came to the surface to defend their creators. And the earth split open, and from its cracks came terrifying giants, with the bodies of men but the souls of demons. And they took up arms against those who came from the heavens. Fragment from the Book of Enoch. The battle was terrible. On one side, Enlil and his army of fire, descending from heaven, destroying city after city. On the other, the reptilians and their army of Nephilim, fighting desperately to defend their kingdoms. The earth was torn in two. Mountains collapsed, seas burst, and valleys filled with rivers of blood. Enki looks and makes his choice. In the midst of the chaos, Enki watched. He did not want total destruction. He did not want the world to be reduced to ashes. But he could not allow the reptilians to win either. He decided then to act. He summoned a select group of people, priests, sages, and pure warriors, those who had not been corrupted. He gave them forbidden knowledge, secret weapons, and strategies to survive the war that was unfolding. Enki knew that Enlil would go too far. And then, he began to set his ultimate plan in motion. What next? The flood was inevitable. Enlil wanted to destroy everything, and the reptilians were ready to fight to the last drop of blood. But Enki had a plan. Next, you will discover. How was the Great Flood triggered, and what role did the Anunnaki ships play? What happened to the surviving reptilians? What truths did Enoch write before everything was destroyed? The truth is closer than you think. Follow the story and discover the lost secrets of the war between the gods. The flood and the fall of the reptilian kingdoms. And I saw waters rising from the seas, and the earth was torn apart under their fury. From the mountains, thunder was heard, and the sky darkened. A great terror fell upon the kingdoms of the mighty, and those who believed themselves gods were swallowed up by the depths. But not all perished, for some hid, waiting for the day when they could rise to the surface again. Forbidden fragment from the Book of Enoch. The vision of Enoch, the last witness of the cataclysm. Before the flood began, Enoch had a vision. He stood in the middle of a circle of light, and before him stood two colossal gods, imposing as mountains. Enki and Enlil. Enlil, the supreme ruler of earth, was furious. His white robes gleaming in the starlight, his voice thundering. Humanity has been corrupted. The reptilians have invaded the temples, poisoned the kingdoms, and defied our commands. There is no turning back. The earth must be cleansed. Enki, the protector of humanity, tried to intervene. Pain was in his eyes. He did not want to see the world destroyed, but he could no longer deny the truth. The Nephilim had extended their control and would not yield. Then the heavens parted, and Enoch saw the future. Waters rose over the cities, covering the high towers and grand palaces. Fire fell from the sky, and the earth split beneath the feet of mortals. The reptilian beings howled, trying to flee into the darkness below. And I saw kingdoms sink, and the great cities of the gods were swallowed by the seas. Nothing was left behind but broken stone and the shadows of those who had once ruled. But not all perished. Enoch witnessed an even more disturbing truth. The flood was not the end of the reptilians. It was only the beginning of a new chapter in their secret plan. Revelation of a hidden kingdom. Just as the revelation of John describes a great purification, a celestial war, and a final battle between the forces of light and darkness, so too was the flood an act of divine judgment. When Enlil gave the command, stars began to fall from the heavens. But they were not just stars. Huge objects, luminous spheres, descended from the sky, striking the earth with the force of 1,000 bolts of lightning. Mountains shook. The seas rose. A rain of fire and ice poured down upon the reptilian cities. It was the moment when heaven and earth united in destruction. The waters rushed in from all sides. The great temples built by the reptilians, cyclopean stone structures, their subterranean pyramids, their hidden cities in the depths, were all submerged. And I saw how the kings of the pre-flood fell, how their temples were destroyed. And I heard a cry of pain coming from the depths, for those who had once ruled the world were now destroyed. But Enoch saw something else. Not all the reptilians perished. The hidden survivors, where have the reptilians gone? Before the last of their cities were destroyed, the most powerful of the reptilians retreated. Some took refuge deep within the earth, in secret tunnels that even the Anunnaki could not discover. Others hid in sacred mountains, where they sealed their temples, waiting for the day when they could return. But the most dangerous changed their appearance, remaining among men, hidden under human faces, infiltrating the new dynasties that would rule the world after the flood. And I saw how those who believed themselves lost appeared again, but not in their old form. They wore the face of a man, but their heart remained that of a serpent. And they waited. They waited until the world would forget what happened. The flood was not the end of the reptilians. It was only the beginning of their infiltration into a new world. Humanity after the flood, the beginning of the new conspiracy. After the waters receded and new kingdoms of men began to rise, Enoch observed a disturbing thing. The kings of the post-flood world were not so different from those who had come before. The secrets of the reptilians still existed, hidden in the temples of the great civilizations that were to come. The great dynasties of the world seemed to follow the same rituals, the same symbols. And I saw how the new kingdoms rose, but those who ruled them remembered those who had come before them. And they began to build temples again, to call upon the beings of the deep again. And so, in the shadows, the lost returned. The reptilians no longer ruled in sight. Now they were in the shadows. Now they waited, living among mortals, influencing history from behind the throne. What next? The reptilians in modern times. If the reptilians survived, where are they now? Are they hiding underground, or do they rule the world from the shadows? What do the world's great elites have to do with these ancient beings? The truth is closer than you think. Follow the story and discover how the reptilians went from legend to reality. Subscribe and stay connected to the greatest conspiracy in history. The retreat of the reptilians and the final oath. And I saw how those who had ruled in darkness hid, not because they had been defeated, but because they were waiting for the right time. And from the shadows they whispered, and kings listened to them. And the peoples forgot them. But the day will come when the heavens will open, and the old ones will rise again, and those who guarded the truth will return. Secret fragment of the Book of Enoch, discovered in a sealed archive in the Vatican. The reptilians after the flood, people forgot, but they did not disappear. When the seas retreated and new kingdoms began to come to life, humanity thought that evil had been defeated. Enlil and the Anunnaki had left Earth, convinced that the reptilians had been eliminated. The flood had swallowed the great cities of the reptilians, destroying their underground temples and hidden pyramids. Humanity had begun a new era, free from the influence of those who had controlled it from the shadows. But Enoch, who had witnessed all this, knew the truth. He had seen in his visions that the reptilians had not perished, but had merely withdrawn. Some of them retreated to caves and underground cities, where they continued their existence, awaiting the day of their return. Others mingled among mortals, using their ability to metamorphose to hide their true appearance. But the most dangerous were neither underground nor on earth. They were in the power structures, and the great royal houses, and the temples built by men. And I saw how the kings listened again to the whispers of those who thought they were lost. And they gave them forbidden knowledge again, and thus a new chain of slavery was woven over the world. The reptilians in our day, they no longer rule, but still pull the strings. During the thousands of years that followed the flood, the reptilians acted in the shadows, without showing themselves directly. There was no longer a need to display their power. Now they exercised it through people. Ancient kingdoms, the pharaohs of Egypt, the emperors of Babylon and Assyria wore symbols of the serpent and the dragon. Their temples were filled with representations of reptilian gods. Medieval era, the great noble families, the ruling dynasties of Europe, seemed to follow the same mysterious rituals, as if they had been initiated into a secret knowledge. Modern era, today, conspiracy theories speak of a global elite that still follows the same ancient traditions, maintaining control over the economy, religions, and technologies that can change the world. And we have seen how those who believed themselves human only showed their true form in hidden places, and the powerful worshipped them. It is said that the most influential leaders of the world carry the genetic traces of the Nephilim. They are not fully human. They no longer have to wear golden crowns and scepters. They now control the world from the shadows, using modern structures. But what no one knows is that the reptilians have not forgotten. They do not want to control the world only from the scenes. They will return, and the time is approaching. Enlil and Enki, when the gods will return. The Anunnaki are gone, but not forever. Before Enlil left Earth, he spoke one last warning. Humanity has been purified. But if evil returns, we will descend again, and it will be the final battle. And I saw the heavens open, and those who had departed appeared, coming to judge the earth. In the revelation of John, there is talk of a final battle between the forces of light and those of darkness. When humanity is almost completely subdued by the reptilians, Enlil will return. He will no longer come with warnings. He will come with fire and sword, determined to erase every trace of corruption. But Enki will return too, for he still believes that humanity must be saved, not destroyed. This will be the final battle between good and evil. It will no longer be a simple war between the gods and the reptilians. It will be a battle that will decide the fate of the earth. And I saw how the armies of heaven descended, and those from the depths arose, and fought over the great cities, and fire came down from the heavens. This is the final apocalypse. How will it all end? Will Enlil succeed in destroying the reptilians once and for all, or will he destroy humanity with them? Will Enki succeed in saving humanity, or will humans rise up against those who tried to help them? When will the Anunnaki return? And what will happen when they find humanity subjugated by the reptilians? Time is running out, and the truth can no longer be hidden.